In professional sports, particularly mixed martial arts, there is no clear-cut path or handbook that one can follow to become a major star. Some fighters have an indescribable natural charisma that allows them to stand apart from their peers. Other athletes are good with words, allowing them to utilize social media and/or press conferences to help take their careers to the next level. That being said, perhaps the fastest way to earn the admiration of the masses is to have a star-making performance inside the octagon. So for this video, we'll be taking a look at a list of fights that help catapult the careers of some of the biggest names in MMA. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now without further ado, and ranked in no particular order, let's take a look at 10 outstanding performances that created instant stars. Number 10. Nate Diaz vs Conor McGregor 1. After putting away longtime featherweight champion Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds, Dublin's own Conor McGregor was clearly a megastar. And at UFC 196, McGregor was looking to make history by defeating Rafael dos Anjos for the lightweight strap, and in turn become a two-division champ. However, when dos Anjos pulled out of the contest due to a broken foot, Nate Diaz stepped in. For his part, the Stockton product was a cult figure who had experienced his fair shares of up and downs. The outspoken California native had a record of 17-10, and was viewed by many as a stepping stone for the red-hot Conor McGregor. Of course, on March 5, 2016, Nate Diaz shocked the world by submitting McGregor in the latter portion of the second round, in what was a career-changing performance. While many fans and pundits may have been surprised by the outcome, Diaz most certainly was not. Number 9. Ronda Rousey vs Liz Carmouche. At one point, UFC President Dana White was hesitant to bring women's mixed martial arts to the UFC. In fact, White even went so far as to say that female athletes would never compete for the promotion.
When are we going to see women in the UFC, man?
Never.
Anytime soon? Never?
Never.
However, a former Olympian out of Riverside, California, named Ronda Rousey forced him to have a change of heart. Rousey had made a name for herself in Strikeforce by dispatching her opponents with relative ease while accumulating a perfect 6-0 record. Moreover, the former Olympian possessed the sort of natural charisma and marketable appearance that often separates standouts from megastars. At UFC 157, the first event in the promotion's history to feature female fighters, Rousey would take on former US Marine Liz Carmouche. In the early going, Carmouche secured a neck crank and nearly derailed the Rousey hype train. However, the former bronze medalist escaped the hold and quickly turned the tables. In the final moments of the first round, Rousey executed her signature armbar and earned her first victory inside the UFC octagon. The win would serve as a launching point for one of the most lucrative careers in UFC history. Number 8. Royce Gracie, UFC 1. The word pioneer is often overused in the sport of mixed martial arts. That being said, the winner of the inaugural UFC tournament, Royce Gracie, is very much the definition of a pioneer. With a lean frame and an unassuming demeanour, Royce Gracie did not fit the profile of your stereotypical 1990s cage fighter. However, the talented jiu-jitsu ace leaned heavily on his craft to defeat several larger opponents, including a muscle-bound future legend by the name of Ken Shamrock. After submitting all three of his opponents in a single night, Gracie not only won the first UFC tournament, but showed the world how effective Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu could be in a live combat situation. Number 7. Jorge Masvidal vs Ben Askren. In 2017, following consecutive losses to Damian Maia and Stephen Wonderboy respectively, UFC vet Jorge Gamebred Masvidal appeared destined to remain a gatekeeper. Following the Thompson bout, the former street fighter was sporting a modest 32-13 record. However, just 3 fights later, Masvidal had become one of the biggest names on the UFC roster. The turning point for Gamebred was UFC 239, where he faced off against Ben Askren in a fight filled with animosity. That evening, Masvidal ended Ben Askren's undefeated streak in just 5 seconds with a flying knee. This impressive knockout soon made its way to almost every social media outlet, thus making Masvidal an overnight star. He would eventually go on to become the inaugural BMF champion and even fight Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title. While Masvidal may have come up short in his first shot at UFC Gold, he is easily one of the most popular fighters on the roster. Number 6. Chuck Liddell vs Tito Ortiz 1. Prior to his first encounter with Tito Ortiz at UFC 47, the Iceman Chuck Liddell had previously challenged for a title and was a name that many fight fans recognised. However, the initial bout with Ortiz helped take the Iceman's profile to the next level. As one of the most polarising figures in the UFC, Tito Ortiz was a trash talker that some fight fans loved. whilst others simply hated. For years, folks had wanted to see these two square off. And when the day finally came, it was Liddell who silenced his brash opponent by securing a second-round KO victory. The victory marked the beginning of a 7-fight win streak for the future Hall of Famer, which also included a reign as UFC light heavyweight champion. During that stretch, Liddell became arguably the most popular fighter in the company. Number 5. Amanda Nunes vs Ronda Rousey. Holly Holm may have put Ronda Rousey's era on life support, but it was Amanda Nunes who ultimately pulled the plug. Heading into her UFC 207 mega bout with Rousey, despite being the reigning champ, Nunes was mostly an afterthought. All of the promotion leading up to the showdown centered around Rousey's return, and how she would look following her first career loss to Holly Holm. By the time the fight was over, Nunes left little doubt as to who the queen of the bantamweight division truly was. In what would end up being a one-sided affair, the Lioness was able to put the former Olympian away with a series of brutal punches. The win allowed Nunes to emerge as a star in her own right, and go on to establish herself as the greatest female fighter of all time. Number 4. Jon Jones vs Shogun Rua. From very early on in his career, it was obvious to most MMA enthusiasts that Jon Jones had all the makings of a future champion. Jones possessed incredible reach, striking, and world-class grappling to go with it. Still, despite being the total package, the well-rounded New Yorker climbed the mountain far quicker than most expected. Following Rashad Evans suffering a knee injury prior to his UFC 128 title fight with Mauricio Shogun Rua, Jones was offered the opportunity to step in as a last-minute replacement. The light heavyweight prospect beat Shogun in convincing fashion, winning the contest via a third-round TKO. In doing so, at just 23 years of age, Jones became the youngest champ in UFC history, and transitioned overnight from a prospect to a superstar. The win sparked the beginning of a career that would see Jones become the most successful champion in the light heavyweight division, and quite possibly become the greatest fighter to ever compete. Number 3. Conor McGregor vs Chad Mendes. Heading into UFC 189, Conor McGregor was a fighter who was generating plenty of buzz. This was due to his endless confidence, his exciting fighting style, and of course his trash talk. However, even the best trash talkers need to be able to get it done inside the cage, especially if they hope to reach the pinnacle of popularity. In July of 2015, the Irishman was set to step into deep waters of the featherweight division, as he took on longtime contender Chad "Money" Mendes for the interim title. Heading into the fight, there was still some mystery as to whether McGregor was truly an elite fighter. After all, McGregor had never faced a wrestler of Chad's caliber. In the early going, Mendes used his wrestling skills to keep McGregor grounded. However, as Mendes began to tire in the second round, the Dublin native unleashed a barrage of punches to finish him off, in turn securing the interim belt. The win proved that Conor McGregor was indeed ready for the big time, and marked the official dawning of a UFC megastar. Number 2. Khabib Nurmagomedov vs Michael Johnson. Reigning lightweight champion Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov has been dominating opponents in the UFC for over 8 years. Since his debut, the undefeated fighter out of Dagestan has used his world-class ground and pound to beat some of the best fighters in the world. While Khabib has given us plenty of memorable performances, it was his UFC 205 bout with Michael Johnson that truly made him a star. Prior to this match, Khabib was originally stated to face Eddie Alvarez in a bout for the lightweight strap. But when the shot was instead given to McGregor, Khabib came out motivated to make a statement. While many eyes were tuned in to see McGregor, Khabib made sure to let millions of viewers know exactly who he was and what he was capable of. Despite taking some heavy shots early on, Nurmagomedov used his elite grappling to dominate Johnson, who is a very accomplished wrestler in his own right. After 3 rounds of mauling Michael Johnson, Khabib was able to secure a submission victory, making it clear to everyone that he was both a star and a future title contender. Number 1. Israel Adesanya vs Kelvin Gastelum. It's often the case that star-making performances occur during one-sided bouts. But this epic battle between the last starbender and Kelvin Gastelum certainly did away with that trend. After successfully defeating Anderson Silva at UFC 234, Adesanya was ready for a shot at the interim UFC middleweight championship. To capture the belt, he would need to get past the always tough Kelvin Gastelum. In a Fight of the Year contender, the two middleweight standouts went toe-to-toe for 5 rounds in a fight that had fans on the edge of their seats. In the end, Adesanya would earn the decision and establish himself as a pound-for-pound star. Of course, Gastelum's profile was also heightened due to his gritty performance. Since then, Adesanya has become the undisputed middleweight champion and has continued to garner mainstream attention. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching guys, and we'll see you on the next video.